Hello there. Thanks for clicking. Welcome. My name is Stephanie and I'm an alcoholic in recovery. This is my channel. It's called Better Than Drinking. And here we discuss staying off of alcohol, alcoholism, alcohol abuse disorder, Alcoholics Anonymous, and all things sober curious. Basically, we focus on alcohol abstinence awareness because that is my goal. I find there to be no positive use for alcohol, and the CDC and World Health Organization both recognize that there is no safe consumption of alcohol whatsoever. There is no health usage for the consumption of it whatsoever. So as we move through our world, in a world brainwashed with the idea that celebration and commiseration should all be celebrated with ethanol consumption, we have to do some homework to keep our minds right, to stop the man from flooding in with his ideas, his profitable ideas of selling us a drink and a good time, especially around the holidays. This is a tricky time for us alcoholics or alcohol abuse disorder survivors or problem drinkers. It's difficult often because every party we go to, every place we go to, there will be drinking alcohol and there will be partying. And most people drink. Most adults who are not pregnant or ill drink. And I guess maybe that's not a true statement, but everyone that I know does. And not to excess, which is the problem, because I will drink to excess if there is any drinking involved for me. So in order to stay off the sauce on any given day, I admit that I am powerless over alcohol and I cannot handle it on my own. It'll take a higher power for me to be able to stay off of it. That higher power is a group of drunks called Alcoholics Anonymous. It is a program called the 12 Steps. It is Mother Nature, and it is goodness. Now, the third step prayer is something that I say often in order to set an intention for my day. If you don't like that word prayer, fine. Call it a meditation. If you don't like that word, fine. Then call it an intention. And I will change the word God to the word that I feel suitable for my higher power. My third step prayer that I say when I'm having a hard time or before I have a hard time. Sometimes I say this when I just start my day, and I will use the word that is my higher power. Good. I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondages of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Amen. And amen just means, and so it is. That's okay if you don't like the rhetoric. Replace the words that you don't like and make it work for you. This is a convertible program. Alcoholics Anonymous believes that you take what works for you and leave the rest behind. So I say that meditation or that intention or even incantation on a daily basis when I need to get out of my own way and let God take the wheel, as the Christians like to say. I will use these references sometimes not to turn you off and not to help them out, but so we can all compare and contrast. Okay? Labels and words are helpers for communication. They are not words designed for divisiveness. If we want to find divisiveness, we can. But here we're going to try to find togetherness, because in sobriety and in recovery, you will find that there is community. There are 3 tenets of AA. They are unity, service, and recovery. So with unity and service come recovery. That's why the shape is a triangle. So in that, I get myself to a 4th step. And on any given day, if I feel a grudge or some sort of resentment, I pull out my pencil and my paper and I write down the things on that 4th step. Remember what your 4th step is. What is that resentment? Well, I will tell you, today was a family member who wanted me to be quiet because recently I got a couple new singing gigs. And so with my progress, with my sobriety, with the growth and beautiful blossoming of different parts of my life come challenges for my family members and people that know and love and care about me. Because with my schedule changes and my need changes comes a ripple effect to the people around me. And that will happen when you put down the bottle. You'll make space for goodness in your life. And that will affect people around you in ripple ways that are impossible to really understand until they're right in front of you. And it's important to understand how your affecting other people and how that's not really your problem, but it also is. It's important for you to live your life the way you need to in recovery and still respect boundaries, but you will be taking care of people less. In recovery, you'll be a lot less taking care of other people. It'll be a lot of me, me, me. That's how it's supposed to be. Because the only reason that we are here was because there was a time in your life where that support and love during a traumatic or difficult, scary time was not there. And it's never been there to repair that. We can repair that. If you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it's a dry read, so Audible is best for that one, audio. The Body Keeps the Score. It will teach you that we have trauma left in our body, and psychology teaches us that we have it left in our mind. And so what we know is that we can heal that with practice. So we are going to love ourselves today, and we're going to write down the things that hurt us. My resentment today was my family member wanted me to be quiet singing. And instead of just asking for what they needed, they could have said, I could use some quiet time right now. Do you mind keeping it down? Instead, what they said was, can you not sing? Listen, I'm far in recovery. It wasn't that hurt my feelings. I can sing. I'm not insecure about that. What I didn't like was that my person put that as my job. Can you not sing? Sure, I can not sing. But in recovery and in healing and in emotional sobriety and emotional maturity, what we learn is it's our job to ask for what we need and want instead of tell others what to do. So, yes, I got annoyed with my partner. We had a little bit of a thing, but it's smoothed over now. And I made my amends where necessary. But it didn't blow up out of proportion because I'm in recovery. Now, it's difficult to be in recovery because you will be around a lot of people who are not in recovery. And so your life will be elevating. And sometimes that makes people insecure and feel unstable and scared and fearful. It's important to recognize those changes and have talks with people about that and be cognizant of how your changes are affecting them, but know that it is also okay for you now to choose you, because this is how we're going to love you back to not filling that hole. This is how we are going to love you back to not filling that hole with alcohol. It would be great to remember the fun times around holidays, right? Instead of have a fuzzy memory and a what if and then looking at a call log like, who did I call last night? So my resentment today, my fourth step, was with my family member. And the cause of it was them telling me, could I not sing? I'm writing it down in my journal. And on my fourth step, how did that affect me? How did my partner saying that affect me? Well, it disappointed me because I expected them to do the therapy talk we've been working on. So I was disappointed. My feelings were not hurt this time, but a different Stephanie at another time would have been hurt, had hurt feelings about that. I would have taken that personally about my singing ability, but I did not this time. Instead, I was disappointed that we were not communicating on that level that we had been working on together. And then on my fourth step, the next thing is, what is my role in this? This thing that came up today with me and my person. What is my role in this? Well, I did use a curse word. I used a curse word. I got upset and I used a curse word. And my role is I engaged in that. I allowed it to fire me up a bit and I cursed. And I'm recognizing that now and I'm writing it down. I cursed. Lost my cool is the way to say it. Because I learned in therapy and healing that violent language is not very good. Cursing is violent language. I'm technically not supposed to do it. I broke the rules. I'm not perfect. It's okay. None of us are perfect. It's important not to be a stubborn asshole and not say you're sorry or make a change. If you're saying sorry, make sure you're making change too, because a sorry without change is empty words and it erodes trust over time. And the solution. What is the solution for my resentment today towards my partner for saying, can you not sing, instead of, I could use some quiet time right now? Well, my solution was to take some time out of the house, to apologize for cursing, to ask for some free time, and to use that free time in order to cultivate my spiritual garden, my healing, my recovery. I did not drink. I used to drink when I was mad. Any excuse to drink. I would drink to feel better. And of course, that's not what happened. Maybe for 20 minutes, I felt a little better. But the anger and sadness would always end up spiraling. By the time the third and fourth drink came around, I was usually crying by the end of the night. So my solution here was I apologized for cursing. And I've gotten way better in my anger, by the way. I used to throw stuff. This is pretty good. I apologized. I took space. I gave my partner space as well. And I am working on my sobriety and healing during that time. So that is my fourth step for today. That is what I write down at the end of the day, or during the day when I need to process things to get through, move on to the next part of my life. I can't be stuck in this. I can't be continually feeling bad about the curse word I threw, or I can't continually feeling bad about the words my partner said. We have to come to a conclusion, a resolution, even if it is to disagree on the fact that these words might not be good or bad. You know, some of us want to be right all the time, some of us don't, and some of us kind of fight for somewhere in the middle. But it's important to remember that we don't have to resolve everything. I find that I love resolution. I'm the type of person, if I watch true crime, I don't want this mystery, open-ended stuff. I want a resolution. So it's difficult for me. It's something I've had to learn in my sobriety, in my healing, in my therapy, is that we can table this. We don't have to feel anger towards each other. We can table this, mutually respect each other, and address it later. It takes a lot of work to do that, and it takes a partner that's willing to get their hands dirty with you, meaning stick it out in the trenches and not just leave when things get tough. Not everybody's up for that. So I hope you have somebody who is, if you are facing that. So as we've done our homework now, we can move into a big book study. So if I were a Christian, I might read a Bible. If I were a Muslim, I might read the Quran, right? But here I am, and I'm an alcoholic, so I read the big book. I have many other books I read too, but we will pick up where we left off last time, and we are on page 10 in the big books of Alcoholics Anonymous in Bill's story. Page 10. With ministers and the world's religious, I parted right there. When they talked of a God personal to me who was love, superhuman strength, and direction, I became irritated and my mind snapped shut against such a theory. To Christ I conceded the certainty of a great man, not too closely followed by those who claimed him. His moral teaching most excellent. For myself, I had adopted those parts which seemed convenient and not too difficult. The rest I disregarded. Okay. So here we are in Bill's story, where we're picking up where he has been introduced to the religious side of Alcoholics Anonymous right in the beginning of the formation of the program. And he's telling us that he picked and chose what worked for him from Christianity for his own life. And top of page 11. The wars which had been fought, the burnings and chicanery that religious dispute had facilitated, made me sick. I honestly doubted whether, on balance, the religious of mankind had done any good. Judging from what I had seen in Europe and since, the power of God in human affairs was negligible. The brotherhood of man, a grim jest. If there was a devil, he seemed the boss universal, and he certainly had me. But my friend sat before me, and he made the point-blank declaration that God had done for him what he could not do for himself. His human will had failed. Doctors had pronounced him incurable. Society was about to lock him up. Like myself, he had admitted complete defeat. Then he had, in effect, been raised from the dead, suddenly taken from the scrap heap to a level of life better than the best he had ever known. Had this power originated in him? Obviously, it had not. There had been no more power in him than there was in me at that minute, and this was none at all. That floored me. It began to look as though religious people were right after all. Here was something at work in a human heart which had done the impossible. My ideas about miracles were drastically revised right then. Never mind the musty past. Here sat a miracle directly across the kitchen table. He shouted great tidings. Well, that is something that happens, isn't it? I myself have a personal experience with the fact that my father replaced his drugs and alcohol with religion. When he became a father, he had to give up hard drugs and drinking. And instead of working a program or actually leaning on psychology or antidepressants or doctors, my father just became a Bible thumper, a very cringe-worthy, hypocritical, racist, child molesting Christian. So there is something called a dry drunk in the program, and that is a person who doesn't drink and hasn't drank on purpose, but doesn't work a program. And you will see this in your life. You might be this person, a person who's trying not to drink. You don't drink. Maybe you do drink some, but not all the time. But you're not working a program of recovery. You're not actually taking steps daily or weekly to implement change towards healing that addictive wound. We are filling a wound when we drink and use drugs. We're healing something, we're servicing something. Well, alcohol doesn't heal. We're trying to heal something. So, you want to be aware of people who dive into religion super deeply right in the beginning of sobriety and kind of let it take over their lives. They can go off the deep end, truly. So there's a mental health balance that needs to be found in your sobriety where chemical pharmaceuticals like antidepressants can often be helpful. I have seen people go into religious psychosis when I think they should have been on schizophrenia medication. So beware of that. I saw that my friend was much more than inwardly reorganized. He was on a different footing. His roots grasped a new soil. Despite the living example of my friend, there remained in me the vestiges of my old prejudice. The word God still aroused a certain antipathy. When the thought was expressed that there might be a God personal to me, this feeling was intensified. I didn't like the idea. I could go on for such conceptions as creative intelligence, universal mind, or spirit of nature, but I resisted the thought of a czar of the heavens, however loving his sway might be. I have since talked with scores of men who felt the same way. My friend suggested what then seemed a novel idea. He said, "Why don't you choose your own concept of God?" That statement hit me hard. It melted the icy intellectual mountain in whose shadow I had lived and shivered many years. I stood in the sunlight at last. It was only a matter of being willing to believe in a power greater than myself. Nothing more was required of me to make my beginning. I saw that growth could start from that point. Upon a foundation of complete willingness, I might build what I saw in my friend. Would I have it? Of course I would. Thus was I convinced that God is concerned with us humans when we want Him enough. At long last, I saw, I felt, I believed. Scales of pride and prejudice fell from my eyes. A new world came into view. The real significance of my experience in the cathedral burst open upon me. For a brief moment, I had needed and wanted God. There had been a humble willingness to have Him with me, and He came, but soon the sense of His presence had been blotted out by worldly clamors, mostly those within myself, and so it had been ever since. How blind I had been! At the hospital, I was separated from alcohol for the last time. Treatment seemed wise, for I showed signs of delirium tremens. There I humbly offered myself to God, as I then understood him, to do with me as he would. I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction. I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing, that without him I was lost. Let's pause there. Now, I don't like this beholden nature that Christian religion wants us to have on God, and which, like, without you, we're nothing. I find that to be bullshit. This mystical God is too mystical for me to wrap my head around and get through my daily life. Okay, so for me, my God is goodness and Mother Nature. Good. It's literally just good, right? So if I use that logic, then that means I humbly offered myself to good, as I understood good, to do with me as good would. I placed myself unreservedly under good's care and direction. I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing without good. I was lost. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend take them away. Root and branch, I have not had a drink since. Now that is profound. If you change the word God into the word good, and you apply it to this entire book, you will find that it still works. And not only does it work, but it is better, because the word God carries far too much emotional weight for any of us. It's the world we've grown up in. All of our wars have begun and end over gods. It's too much. Lighten your load. Change your higher power into something that serves you. What serves you? I imagine my higher power as Mother Nature, and I call her the goodness goddess. The goodness goddess. And she has long, beautiful hair, and she has flowers in her hair and butterflies, and she comes from a volcano in the ocean. And I visualize her like the most beautiful piece of Mother Nature, femininity manifested from Mother Earth into love and growth and renew. And so that is what he is talking about here. He was able to learn, he got permission from one person, the idea, to come up with a higher power of his own conception. And that freed him from the shackles of the baggage that he already had around the word God, because he had a lot. And now that Bill has understood that he can make his higher power what he wants it to be, this is where we see the shift in perception and a shift in perspective. Who told you that God has to look this way? What, the one that you don't relate to? That God? The man? Men? It's difficult. It's difficult for us women to relate to a man as our higher power. All we've ever known is a world in which the man is the higher power. How is that loving and safe for us? How is it a soft place for us to fall? It is not. I beg of you to make a higher power, find, cultivate, draw, seek images online, message board yourself, make a vision board. There's also a thing called junk journaling or journaling, scrapbooking. There's ways that you can just go through your notebook and put down what you love, want, see, feel, possess, need, desire. And this is how we take tiny steps towards staying off of the alcohol. Because the more we pay attention to your heart, your needs, your love, your desires, your inner self, the less noise we're going to have, where we can listen to things like, drink this, drink this, drink this. This will make you feel better. Oh, you don't feel great? Feel this. No, we're supposed to be feeling exactly what we're supposed to be feeling right now. And things that are designed to take us out of this feeling are mere distractions from the reality of our life and our experience. Now let's be grateful for that experience and not steal it from ourselves by numbing ourselves with ethanol. What a silly idea. The richest person in the world on their deathbed has something that you'll probably never have, billions of dollars. But you have something they're definitely never going to have, which is life. What is your life and how are you going to label it? My schoolmate visited me and I finally acquainted him with my problems and deficiencies. We made a list of people I had hurt or toward whom I'd felt resentment, which is your fourth step. I expressed my entire willingness to approach these individuals, admitting my wrong. Never was I to be critical of them. I was to right all such matters to the utmost of my ability. Let's pause there. Pause on your amends. Right now, work on the amends on your daily life. When you mess up in the daily, when you snap at somebody, when you're short with people, when you cut in line, when you make a mistake, when you cut someone off verbally, we need to do more listening and less apologizing, but more change. Does that make sense? You can say you're sorry, but instead of saying that, why don't you just listen more instead of apologizing for cutting someone off? Does that make sense? That takes it from a place of you to them. And that is the service that allows us the recovery. I was to test my thinking by the new God consciousness within. Common sense would thus become uncommon sense. I was to sit quietly when in doubt, asking only for direction and strength to meet my problems as God would have me. Never was I to pray for myself except as my request bore on my usefulness to others. Then only might I expect to receive, but that would be in great measure. Yeah, I don't tend to pray to ask for things. That's not the God I have. I put in action and I put out meditations and incantations and intentions. I do not ask for things like financial help from a higher power. No, I ask for patience in the face of stressors that will in turn lead to greater financial freedom. The promises come, the promises of less financial burden, and this lack of being befuddled. Things that will have baffled you will not baffle you anymore. Things that were difficult will not be difficult anymore. Things that you couldn't handle, you'll now be able to handle. Those are the promises of AA, and they do come true. But we don't outright ask for, say, an Escalade and expect a higher power to show up with it. That's pardon me, but fucking stupid. My friend promised when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator, that I would have the elements of a new way of living which answered all my problems. Belief in the power of God, plus enough willingness and humanity to establish and maintain the new order of things were the essential requirements. Okay, so basically they're saying here that Bill was told that if he does A, B, C, and D, these few steps that I just went over with you, asking God to take over, doing the resentments, the grudge list, making amends, basically a skimming over of the first 7 steps, then he will find the mental capacity, the humility, the lovingness, honesty. So doing the homework, saying I'm admitting when I'm wrong and changing it, saying I can't handle the things I can't handle and asking for help when I need to, then that is how you will establish the character strengths that will help keep you off of the drink. You will not want to drink if you work these steps, because now your character will be shifting. You won't be as needy and self-doubtful, and you won't be standing in your way anymore. That's what we're doing with alcohol. We're always doing this. We're standing in our way. We're slowing ourselves down. You get all this RPM, and then we throw alcohol on it, and then we're slowed down. We're set back days. And don't tell me that you're not, because I know how it goes. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. Sorry. Go ahead and put it in the chat if you've made it this far and you have prayed more than once to a God that you don't believe in to help you stop drinking, because that was me. I didn't even believe in this God, and I'm like, God, help me stop. So now, if I'm still not going to believe in him, I'm at least going to say, God, help me stop, but I'm going to do it with this, with the book, with the homework, instead of clutching a toilet with Jaeger. You know what I'm saying? asking God. No, I don't even believe in God, but I'm still going to sit here and ask them, goodness goddess, to please help me, because I know it works. Simple but not easy, a price had to be paid. It meant destruction of self-centeredness. I must turn in all things to the Father of Light who presides over us all. The Father of Light. Again, the patriarchy. The Goddess of Light. How about just the deity of light? Thank you. Deity. Deity is non-binary. These were revolutionary and drastic proposals, but the moment I fully accepted them, the effect was electric. There was a sense of victory, followed by such a peace and serenity that I have never known. There was utter confidence. I felt lifted up as though a great clean wind of mountain tops blew through and through. God comes to most men gradually, but his impact on me was sudden and profound. For a moment I was alarmed, and I called my friend, the doctor, to ask if I were still sane. He listened in wonder as I talked. Oh my goodness. Again, this book was written 90 years ago, and remember, he had to call his doctor friend to find out if he was still sane. Because basically what he's describing is a psychic shift. It sounds like that oneness has washed over him. There's that idea of one love, which is basically the definition of metta, which is basically the definition of namaste, which is basically the definition of I love you. So what we're saying here, what we're seeing in God, in a person, in Bill, when they have this profound psychic shift, is just a soul recognition of your oneness with this world. You won't feel so separate anymore. You will feel that power take over and kind of hold you. It's probably not going to be a man in the sky. It might be while you're on a hike contemplating these things. That happened to me one time, and it's happened over and over again. Times when I'm kind of moving my body, contemplating my existence, my higher power, or just kind of being in the moment, but being somewhere that's a little different and pushing myself in a different manner. I'll find awakenings, new awakenings, and tears sometimes come, and I'll feel new feelings. Often things that I think that people who seek ayahuasca are seeking, a psychic shift, but mine does not involve traveling to Central America and being sick or drugs. Mine involves an introspection, and that is what you're going to do when you cultivate your spirituality. You're going to quietly take walks by yourself. You're going to push yourself. You're going to contemplate. You are going to cry, and you're going to give yourself space and time to do that. Cry, ugly cry, let it out, let the makeup run, and your energy will now be shifted. The body keeps a score, and the body will be less taxed. And these are the things that will help us shift to find that higher power. It might be a yoga class. You've never taken a yoga class, or if you have, I've cried many times, and I wasn't even thinking of sad thoughts. I had a release of energy, and I felt lighter after. And I've carried that lightness since. It didn't come back. New things have weighed me down, but that lightness stayed. And this is what we talk about when we talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. That's just a big term that means make a goal, set a goal, like go to a class, do it, accomplish it, feel good, feel better, do it again. That's it. Cognitive behavioral therapy is journaling, it's cooking, it's taking care of you, your goodness, your health, your wellness. Even going for your annual physical is a cognitive behavioral therapeutic move. That is another thing you can do to help love yourself. Us drinkers, we tend to be punishment based when we're mad at ourselves or others. And then we tend to neglect our health when it comes to medical and dental checkups. So this is your reminder to get a dental checkup and get your physical exam scheduled. And depending on your age group, you know that means a few extra tests. Like me, I'm 44 and I'm okay with that. So let's move on. Finally, he shook his head, saying, "Something has happened to you. I don't understand, but you had better hang on to it. Anything is better than the way you were." The good doctor now sees many men who have had such experiences. He knows they are real. While I lay in the hospital, the thought came that there were thousands of hopeless alcoholics who might be glad to have what had been so freely given me. Perhaps I could help some of them. They in turn might work with others. My friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. Faith without works was dead, he said. Faith without works is dead. Yeah, I can say that. I can see that and I can say that. And how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again. And if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. If you did not work, you should. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if I don't work the program, I will drink. And if I drink, I will die. The trials and the low spots. Let me stop right there. So we made 5 pages today, or 4 pages today. It's pretty good. Let me stop there. The trials and the low spots. Talk about the trials and the low spots. Because even though my life has become manageable now and my life has become better and more rewarding and more fulfilling, the low spots and the challenges have come up in different ways in my life. They've shown up in different capacities. Now it's not about Stephanie drinking too much. It's about Stephanie succeeding and then having different expectations put on her or the family or the people around. It's about being in recovery and being around people who don't know how to take accountability. Now, I have a really amazing partner. Don't get me wrong. We had a little tiff, but we're awesome together. I'm very lucky. A lot of people don't have a partner that can really empathize with the pain and struggle. My partner saw me at my lowest and I was really, really low. And for you, that might not be the case. Your partner may have seen you hungover a few times, so does not understand the gravity that it is for you. And I sympathize and I understand, but I want you to know that there is help in the form of meetings. Talk therapy is wonderful, and I urge you to get it if you can, because I'm in it and I'll be in it forever if I can be and if I can afford to be. But group therapy, free group therapy through AA or Al-Anon, which is a group that's made for friends and family of people that are alcoholics. So that pretty much applies to everyone in the entire world. If you take Alcoholics Anonymous candidates and Al-Anon candidates and you put them in a room, you'll have the entire world. Okay, so if anyone you know or you are having trouble or a hard time, you don't know who to talk to, you don't know what to do, log into an online meeting. Find one online. There's going on all the time all over the world, Al-Anon or AA. And that is where you can find group settings of friendships to form, people to talk to. You can share or not share, listen or not listen. There's a chat. Make connections and reach out to people and ask for help. You'll be amazed at the geniuses, the amazing, creative, beautiful people, wonderful souls that you will meet in these rooms, especially if you're having a hard time. This is where I go when I have a hard time. I'm on the bed, so I'm shaking the camera when I'm shaking. I'm emphatically telling you that AA meetings are where you need to go if you want therapy, if you need therapy. It is free group therapy for any human being. If you're not an alcoholic, go to an Al-Anon meeting, because if you're here, you've been touched by alcoholism. Even if you are an alcoholic, you've probably been touched by alcoholism and you can go to Al-Anon too. My first meeting was an Al-Anon meeting. It was not an AA meeting. That's where we'll close it down for now because we're at about 42 minutes. I will edit that down a bit, but I think that's where we can turn it off because I went through the 3rd step prayer for you and the meditation that can be the incantation or the intention. It does not have to be a prayer. Find some sort of intention to set or say for you that represents that 3rd step, where it tells your higher power to help relieve you of the bondage of self, that you can better do your higher power's will. And in my case, it's goodness, and it's good. So do your 4th step on any given day. Write down your resentment, write down the reason, write down how it affects you, write down your role, and write down your solution, and then go make a change. These are the small little bits that you can do for your homegirl homework, homeboy homework, home person homework, in order to work the program of AA, a 12-step program to help you get off whatever it is you need to get off. Alcohol is what it was for me, and thank God, thank good, I'm still here, because Alcoholics Anonymous is a gift. I'm going to show you one more thing before I sign off. I made this little piece of paper art to leave around my space. This is some of the journaling I do to help express myself creatively, so I can look at it, I can embrace it, I can throw it away, whatever I want to do with it. But it's something that I can tangibly see and feel and touch in order to help personify and embody these ideas. I have a beautiful sticker book. I got some cool stickers. I placed a cool little collage together. And then I wrote down, what you see there, acceptance. Because acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it's because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation is exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I cannot stay sober. Until I accept life on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. That is the acceptance passage from the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 417. Thank you for joining me today. Please go ahead and comment, like, share, subscribe, do all of the things. And remember that you're not alone. If you need help, if you want a friend, just email me. It takes me a little bit to get back, but I will get back to you. My email is steddydub@gmail.com. That's steadydub@gmail.com. If you're looking for a friend or a sponsor, I'm around. So until next time, keep your chin up, keep smiling, and remember, 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. And it's all better than drinking. So until next time, keep smiling, no drinking. Namaste.